poison Rana.
Hello and welcome to episode 11 of Eagles Don't Hunt Flies, the show all about the life and career of John Moxley. And I'm your host, Martin Bushby, and joining me, as usual, is Mr. Brandon from New Jersey. And Brandon, sadly, no Dickie with us this month. He's got a lot on, but fear not, because we've drafted in my old British wrestling experience mate and GRAPPL spotlight host. It's Richard Benson, aka Benno. Not to say that one in a while, mate.
Great to be here, mate. Feels like old times, but a little bit more high tech. We're on StreamYard. We're up late on a Friday night. I like it, man. I like the new regime. But yeah, made up to me. I shouldn't expect anything less. Podcasted with you for many years. Always going to be far more professional than what we do over on GRAPPL.
Oh no! Wait, it took me long enough to get on the video side of things because it just seemed like an extra bit of effort. But yeah, finally caught up with everybody else. But how's it going, Brandon? We haven't talked for a month. How's it going with you, mate? Have you you were telling me last month you wanted to go to Azerbaijan on holiday? How's that going? Have you got your flights booked, got your hotel booked, and everything?
Oh yeah, Azerbaijan, the the Cleveland of Europe. No, it's been good, man. It's been one hot summer work. It's just steam. It's a steam bath out here, but it's been good, man. It's been real good.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same over here, isn't it, Benno? It seems to be boiling. The whole world seems to be boiling. I know this week at work, I've just been sweating my arse off, in the hospital and stuff. I'm assuming it's been the same up there in Liverpool.
Yeah, it still is today. We're not built for it. Oh, we no aircon, no nothing. Just I've got a janky fan going somewhere in the background and the window open. That's how we do it over here. Not like those North Americans. But I've got a bone to pick with Brandon here. Sorry, I've been waiting till we go live to say this.
Go for
Brandon's planned the holidays. I was told you were going to be in Toronto last month, mate. What happened? I was so excited to see you. I think Hansi was there. You know, we had Damian Abraham there. We had Dan the Malfra Bransky there. All the Post family, all the Poison Rana family. No Brandon from New Jersey. And I was told this is just normal. Brandon doesn't turn up to stuff. So I'm excited to see your face tonight, mate. I'm happy. I'm happy for this reunion. But, where have you been, mate? What's going on?
Oh, man, I was so bummed out because, week of the 4th of July was horrible. Work-wise, so I had to do a shift. I couldn't make it, but next time our reunion will happen. Don't worry, I'm excited. It will happen. It won't happen in Europe, but maybe it'll happen here. Who knows? Yeah, we'll link up definitely.
Good man. I'm glad.
Isn't this what you just do, though, Brandon? You always sort of like flake out on these things, don't you? You say you're going to be there, and then you're not. I'm sure that.
I remember the first time I met Davey and Braden for that NXT show, and I was contemplating last minute whether I should go or not, and I bought my ticket the last minute to fly there, and it cost me an arm and a leg. You don't do that shit now. You don't do that. That's stupid. But yeah, I don't know. That's just me. I'm very last minute with stuff.
You didn't fancy SummerSlam this weekend, then? Now everyone's gone over there, aren't they? Now.
No. Come on, man.
Is that not in Cleveland?
You're going to sit in that stadium with a chance of rain in the forecast. What is it, 7 hours? It's not going to be 7 hours long, is it? There's 5 matches, right?
Yeah, they don't do enough matches for it to go that long.
Yeah, you still got a concert, too, with Jellyman or Jelly Roll. What's his name?
What?
Yeah, they got to sit through a Jelly Roll concert, man. Good on them. But I didn't fancy that at all. Wait. So you call air conditioners air cons?
Oh yeah, we were talking off. I forgot to mention this off air, Benno. Me and Brandon were talking before you came on board, and I said, I was listening to John Cena say in his Lego store they only put the aircon on for like 2 or 3 hours a day, which seems a bit harsh. And obviously, everyone's trying to save on money. And I kept saying aircon, and Brandon was like, "What do you mean air what aircon?" And I'm like, "Aircon. That's what people fucking call it." And he's like, "No, we don't. We call it air conditioning over here." And I was like, "Yeah, it's just." That air conditioning abbreviated, but yeah, it's blown my mind now that apparently Americans in New Jersey don't call it aircon. Apparently,
I mean, I'm surprised this was the topic of controversy and not Mike Modest, but
I was waiting to bring that one up. I've got a few in the holster to bring up as the show goes on. I was going to show you like a picture of like mid 2000s indie wrestlers and like a lineup, which one's Mike Modest, but I've let that go, mate. I've let the quiz go that you definitely cheated on. Davey was innocent. I know.
King of the Mountain, best of Mike Modest.
That's it.
Well, it's normally around September that I start putting the questions together and stuff. And I was thinking, should I change the format and stuff this year and blah blah?
Yeah, ban Brandon.
That quiz. Yeah. Well, I was gonna do a vote and say, do you think Brandon from New Jersey? So Brandon can't blame me then. I'll do a vote.
Final warning.
Do you think Brandon should be banned from the Big Fat Quiz and have his title stripped from him?
Oh man, that'd be hilarious.
We'll keep you honest, mate. Maybe you get one more chance. That's fine.
Yeah, I got to defend my title with Davey.
The looking down. Can you repeat the question and the looking down? Because I wasn't really concentrating on the video that
I was
night.
a butt speaker, man.
Wouldn't happen in a British pub with him, Martin. You've got a lot to learn, Brandon.
Yeah. You'd get thrown out on your ass there, Brandon, I'm afraid. Yeah. Poor Davey. Poor Davey, I just feel bad for him. He can keep his half of the title and Brandon can be stripped of the title. Anyway, because this month we are here to talk about the Shield versus Evolution feud from 2014. And
we're not reviewing Retro. I thought we had progress to talk about. What's going on? Thought that was James.
You've done your own work. I hope you've watched that 6 hours of progress I told you to watch.
Yeah, Fear and Loathing was this weekend. I just got chills thinking about that.
Really, was it? That's still a thing?
I have no idea. Couldn't tell you when. They probably had some show, didn't they? It probably still exists in some form. No, more fun stuff. The only British thing about this podcast, I've got a nice British beer here just for Brandon. Brit Hop Brewery. Never heard of it before. But
no.
Yeah, we'll keep the Brit Res talk to a minimum, though, won't we, Martin?
Yeah. Brandon's more into his wine, his Sauvignon Blanc and everything, because we discovered last time around.
Oh, he's a wine. Okay. Well, I've got that, and I've got the other beer I've got is a Kingslayer Double IPA, which I felt like was relevant to the show. You know, Triple H being a subject.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Spitting water on people in Cleveland. What a king.
But the original reason I actually invited you on here, Benno, because for some reason I had it in my head that you were like a massive fan of Evolution. Where did I get that from? Have I got it completely wrong? Or was there ever a time you were a fan of Evolution?
Well, there's an element to that. Again, I was made up to get the invite and to talk about something that isn't Brit Res with you, mate. But like for me, we did the Evolution deep cut over on GRAPPL, and we mostly talked the original run. And we did at the end talk a little bit about this period, but not in any kind of detail. So it's a nice little sequel to that for me. But like when we did that show, like that early period, I was definitely into Evolution. You probably heard me and Brandon's British cousin, Matty, talk about like when we were 18, 19, first going on our nights out. You won't understand this, Brandon, or maybe you will. But in the UK, if you were going to a pub or a club on a Friday or Saturday night, it's not a thing anymore, but you had to have dress shoes on. You had to have your best shirt on. Ben Sherman was the brand of choice, as Martin will know. You wouldn't even wear like jeans, to be honest. It'd be like work pants, wouldn't it? Or like school pants, basically, like my old pair of like sixth form pants I used to wear. It was a big like thing over here. I used to like get dressed every Friday and Saturday night for those nights out. just blasting the Evolution theme because it's the perfect theme for it. Just imagine it. I'm Randy Orton with me Blag Armani shirt on and kind of, trying to look cool in the mirror, put me gel in my hair and stuff like that. So in a certain time and place, I was very into to Evolution in that early period, but it might have been more to do with me real life and my cosplaying as Randy Orton. That was the limit of it, by the way. I didn't do anything bad that Randy Orton did. I didn't shit in any handbags or anything, but I wanted to be Randy Orton on those Friday nights out.
No,
good
no
to hear it.
pleats,
Good there was no shitting in handbags or anything.
no pleats and no slacks, right?
Yeah, that's it. Slacks, yeah, that's the word. But yeah, it was a big thing, wasn't it, Martin, back in the day? That's how you had to be. So Evolution were quite timely for me. I was just starting to go on nights out and stuff when they were first put together. I was saying that I would have been like 20, 21, so a little bit older, but still.
Yeah, I remember it well because like going to the metal clubs, obviously you just wore whatever you wanted, jeans and like a Corn t-shirt or whatever. I imagine it was the same in the Crazy House in Liverpool.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, whenever I go out with any of like my sort of my quote unquote townie mates, I'd be like, right, shoes, and then I don't know about Liverpool market, but in Sheffield market there was a good line of like knockoff Ralph Lauren shirts and things like that. So I used to like spend a tenner and get one of them and think I wore it like a few times. But yeah, it was wild when you think about it now that you had to sort of like, get dressed up to go out to a club or a pub or whatever.
Oh, there was a club out my way. Like you had it was in the Trump Taj Mahal called like Hasbah, where you have to wear like slacks and like Steve Madden shoes and like a dress shirt. But you see all the Jersey Shore like people like wore the dress shirt, but like the sleeves were cuffed up and the button downs were like it was like they had their button shirt like buttoned all the way close to their navel and like showing the taco meat. It was so revolting, man. I was like, man,
that's what I like to. Pretty much.
I don't fit in this scene, man. I'm going to the bar downstairs at the casino, play some cards, like something same like that. But yeah, we had something similar, but yeah, I mean, it's an expensive upkeep to keep up with that style, especially Evolution, man. They wore those baggy ass Steve Harvey suits back then too.
Yeah, style of the time though, wasn't it? But yeah, that's it. Even now though, I'll go on nights out and I'll be like in town and like someone will invite me out and I've just still got it in my head. Oh, am I gonna get in here with trainers on? Like I think it's built into like people of a certain age and that worry that the bouncer's gonna treat you funny. And now everyone just walks around in shorts and t-shirts and flip flops and gets into places. So yeah, the Evolution style isn't the one. But yeah, they were a big part of that period for me. And I did, in all seriousness, like kind of that little first Evolution run. Triple H and his match with like Shelton Benjamin during that period, like I was a big fan of, and just in general of putting together the stable and the idea behind it and all of that. Up until really the initial Randy Orton turn, I was very, very into that and those guys and into Batista's rise and stuff like that. So you probably could say I was a fan on the quiet.
Did you just say you liked a Shelton Benjamin match there? I was listening to GRAPPL Spotlight the other week.
That's the one. That's the single one. You still can't make 5, though. There's a challenge for your Poison Rana listeners. Give me your top 5 Shelton Benjamin matches. You can't because you don't remember 5. And the Shawn Michaels one doesn't count. It's a super kick. It's a spot. It's a gift. It's not a great match. Maybe you can pull a tag from somewhere or something like that. But it's an uphill task. But I did at the time love that. That one and the Takumi Shinoku Raw match. They're my favourite two Triple H Raw matches. But yeah, I was watching every week in that period, proper into it.
There you go. Braden and Davey always do that best match ever. I'm wondering if they could come up with a Shelton Benjamin one. That could be the challenge for them.
It's just one moment, that ladder spot.
Yeah, that's it. You come up with spots easy, definitely, and you could probably grab some kind of SmackDown 6 match and shoehorn it in there. But yeah, he's my new Regal. You're absolutely right, Martin.
What about you, Brandon? Were you an Evolution guy? For me, it was kind of like you've just noted there, the oversized suits. It reminded me of, as well as buying knockoff shirts from Sheffield Market, there was I used to borrow some of my brother's clothes, and he's bigger than me, so I'd sometimes go out with all the baggy stuff on. I sort of cringe thinking about it now. It's like John Cena, whenever he used to make a public appearance, always had a suit on that was 10 times too big for him as well, didn't he? So yeah, I didn't mind Evolution. I think around that point, I'd sort of like my interest in WWE was waning a bit, and it was sort of like around the same time period that Triple H was all over Raw all the time and everything. So I was never, I did appreciate some of the stuff, but I was never that big of a fan. Were you all in on Evolution?
I mean, I like Benno said, the concept of them was pretty cool, and the Bluetista turn and stuff like that. But I wasn't really watching wrestling at the time, so like, I mean, I saw bits and pieces of the highlights and stuff like that of the rise of Evolution and stuff like that, and I was intrigued, but I never really jumped back in at that time to watch wrestling. I didn't really jump back in until the pipe bomb or whatever. That wasn't at the same time, right? That was early, was it? I don't know. It all blends together. But I wasn't really watching at that time. But I mean, I knew they existed and stuff like that. But I remember borrowing Steve Madden shoes from my brother whenever I went out too. So I empathize with what you did with your brother too.
I'm guessing Steve Madden was a big brand in America because I don't know about you, Benno. I've never fucking heard of it.
Was he an NFL commentator or something? I don't know.
They look like bowling shoes, but they were very comfortable and they were very cheap and robust. But they look nice. You can go to a top club like that and not get thrown out by the bouncer because of your dress shoes. Because I mean, they pass the sniff test of what you need to get in. So I mean, cheap skates like us would rock those shoes to go into the club to try to.
Socks over trainers, that was the one, wasn't it, Martin? That was the tip. Get your black work socks and pull them over your white trainers. That'll get you in most places.
Yeah, probably. I never quite went that far, but yeah, that's some dedication to getting in the club. That one. Well, obviously, this show is all about Jon Moxley. Where's your fandom at with Moxley, Benno? I don't think I've ever. I mean, I know you're like a fan of some of his matches and things like that, but where does he rank, sort of like in terms of your fandom?
I've gone hot and cold with him over the years, which is a great thing to admit at the start of a Jon Moxley podcast. And I'd say I'm very cold on him right now, if I'm honest. I enjoyed him, obviously, in the Indies, before he went to WWE. He was always that name you always heard about. Oh, there's this guy who's doing this great promo work in Evolve, and you'd see bits and pieces of that. And he was like one of the Gabe Sapolsky guys post ROH. And then even when he first got signed by WWE, and like again, Mick Foley was talking him up and wanting to do a match with him, wasn't he? And talking him up in promo-wise and stuff. He felt like the last of that generation of indie guys. He came along a little bit too late to be in the golden generation, but he was of that mold and he kind of fit. So I always liked him more on rep than actually what I maybe saw with my own eyes. And then, his WWE run, we're going to talk a bit about today. I was mostly a fan of until near the end. Big fan of when he first came into AEW. Can't be understated what a game changer it is. But yeah, not to take the podcast if anyone's listening in the future, but at time of recording, August of 2024, he definitely is quite low on my list of people I kind of enjoy watching in AEW, and I think a lot of that's just his motivation. If you believe reports, there's reason for that, and he's out of not out of favor, but kind of just out on vacation right now. That longer in vacation, and you can see that he needs it. When you saw him in AEW over the last year or so, he's looked massively unmotivated. They just give him random belts and he defends them on telly, doesn't he? But insert belt here, and he has these match of the weeks, and GRAPPL listeners will know I'm not a huge fan of the Blackpool Combat Club either. So yeah, it's like I think I like Jon Moxley the man, but as a performer and as somebody who's been the way he's been presented the last couple of years, I think it's definitely been lacking, to be honest. And yeah, he's probably one of the staler wrestlers in AEW. It's a shame to say.
Well, I think also he's been going so hard for so long, I think, especially, and even though he did have that break sort of when he went into rehab and everything, I do think like he does need a break from it all sort of thing. Totally. And we could even play a game, I mean this year on our podcast, Where in the World is Jon Moxley, you know what I mean? Because like he has been like touch and go this year. But you do raise a good point there, because everyone forgets about the game stuff, don't they? Like the FIP stuff and the Evolve stuff and that. And there's some really good stuff in there, like his I Quit matches with Jimmy Jacobs and people like that, and that's sort of like a sort of forgotten period of his thing. I don't think there's anyone that really looks that fondly back on Evolve, but there is some like hidden gems in there, isn't there?
Yeah, there's guys like him, guys like Darby that kind of came of that. Even Gargano, Ciampa. A lot of Evolve was never really the fast-on promotion, was it? But it did continue to produce or focus on guys like that, like Moxley. Yeah, that's kind of a big part of his career that does get glossed over a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. But on to what we're on to talk about on the show today, just to catch everyone up, it is Evolution versus The Shield. And around that time period in 2013, The Shield had mainly been the muscle for the Authority. Because obviously this is the time period where the Authority are all over Raw and SmackDown. Everyone's favourite time of WWE. And And then into 2014, the Shield sort of turned on the Authority and turned face. They had a match against Triple H's buddies, the New Age Outlaws, and Kane at WrestleMania 30, which I'd completely forgotten was a match that happened at WrestleMania 30. Yeah, and then Ambrose is randomly US champion. He beat it off. He won it off Kofi Kingston rather, and had that mega reign with the belt, didn't he? That lasted for almost a year. He won it at Extreme Rules 2013, and then, as far as the team on the opposite side goes, Batista came back at the Royal Rumble 2014 with those skinny jeans on, booed because everyone wanted Daniel Bryan. The infamous match now at WrestleMania 30 with Bryan winning the title. 10 years ago, I know obviously with Benno here, we've got to talk about time, but I can't believe this is 10 years ago. Feels like 5 minutes. I was watching it at a sports bar down the road from here, WrestleMania 30. But Brandon, any memories of that time period specifically before we get into sort of like the meat of this stuff?
I mean, the memories I didn't really remember at first, and then I did the assignment to watch the matches. But then I have the Peacock network, so like I couldn't find where the matches were. I know you send them to me but I didn't do that, so because I'm an idiot. But so I was watching the pay-per-views, and it just, these memories started coming back to me about how shit this Authority figure deal was. And then like it was just like, it just started hitting me like a ton of bricks how bad this 2014 era of WWE was. Seeing Stephanie and Triple H and Kane, and oh my god, it was just dreadful, man. Dreadful era. Oh, I wanted to vomit watching this shit.
Well, there was some decent stuff in there as well. Like we had sort of like everyone remembers Bryan win their title. Like I said, I can't remember that Shield against New Age Outlaws and Kane. I didn't realize, couldn't remember New Age Outlaws had come back. But
I didn't remember Cesaro was with Paul Heyman at the time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Both the beginning of both pay-per-views was like Cesaro coming out against Rob Van Dam. I was like, oh yeah, this is the era where like they would do the same match like 20 times, like over and over and over again, like on SmackDown and Raw and on pay-per-views and on house shows until they got it right. I was like, oh, cool.
That is the main issue with covering a lot of this early Shield stuff, isn't it? And we discovered that when we did the Punk against the Shield stuff, that they'd repeat the matches over and over again. Like Punk had about sort of like 10 different Shield singles matches, sort of like leading up to that handicap match at Survivor Series or whatever. But what about you, Benno? Memories of this specific time period?
Yeah, time is the key word, as you say, because it's like 3 hour Raws were a thing back then, and they to me still feel like they're 5 years old. You know, I can't believe Raw has been 3 hours for as long as it was, and like obviously I think that was part of the formula. You mentioned Punk, like it was like, oh, there was a Team Hell No segment, the year before there was a Punk segment, and there's a Shield segment, and they kind of were the linchpins and the good stuff that was on those Raws. But it was a lot of crap as well. I've got a lot of memory for this period more because, like, I obviously quite already tapped into message board culture and hardcore fan culture. But I remember like this year being one where, and the year before, especially during the bit where they were refusing to push Bryan, getting really into like Observer Radio and the Torch and obviously John and Way's stuff as well. And massively being swept up in all of that, like and. The pitfalls of it and the good parts of it as well with the yes movement. I remember like boring my brother who doesn't watch wrestling anymore being like, you won't believe it, WWE's so shit right now. They've got this red hot young babyface who could be the next Stone Cold Steve Austin. I think that's how I described Daniel Bryan. And like, can you imagine it if like they didn't like give Stone Cold Steve Austin the title when we were kids? And I remember our Peter just looking at me going, I had no idea who you're talking about or what this is about. But I felt that passionate about it. I felt that angry about it. So I kind of allowed all those emotions kind of like set aside in this year because it was like the peak of WWE versus their own fan base. Obviously Punk had his battles, but the Bryan one around this period that leads into what we're going to talk about today felt like the peak of Vince McMahon's stubbornness and bad product versus what the fans actually wanted. And the good thing is the bit we're going to talk about today is where they did cave a little bit, which led to all this, and there was a little bit of a fan service there, but it's a real wild time to go back and watch because that's happening, but then there's all these faceless blokes in trunks you see in all the multi-man matches and some of the clips we watch for this, and a load of names you look and go, bloody hell, didn't know he was still employed at that point. Young Drew McIntyre knocking around, things that.
Wait, so
it's a weird world, this.
Wait, so this was the 2014 Royal Rumble. That was in Philly, right? I was there.
Oh, there you go.
Great memories from it, Brandon.
Oh yeah, I remember Daniel Bryan getting thrown over the rope and people were pissed off. And
was this the Kane and Big Show one where they were gingerly dropping people over the top rope? Oh, I think Road Dogg. Speaking of Road Dogg getting that WrestleMania match, I think he agented it, didn't he? I think he blocked me that year for arguing with him about it on Twitter and how badly it was put together. Jesus Christ, that's a rough Rumble to be at.
That was when we were leaving the Wells Fargo Center parking lot, and Sandow and Sheamus were trying to leave the parking lot in the snowstorm, and the fans were so pissed off about the Rumble result that they wouldn't let them leave.
Yeah, because Sandow had anything to do with the Rumble result. That's hilarious. Fucking wrestling fans, that's hilarious. But I suppose it's sort of like coming out of Mania, it does bleed into this build-up we have to the first Evolution against the Shield match, because the Raw directly after Mania is Triple H is supposed to be facing off against Daniel Bryan for the title, but Orton and Batista come down and beat Bryan up. Then Kane comes out and joins in, and then the Shield come down. I think this really cemented their sort of like babyface turn and, helped Bryan and sent Triple H and his mates packing. So a great start to Daniel Bryan's title there, that he was like the afterthought in this thing, and it was mainly about Triple H and the Shield and Kane and everyone. So, but this is the first time I noticed, and I couldn't remember him wearing them at the time, but Brandon, now you're messaging me earlier today about Dave's trainers / boots, these wrestling trainer boots things that he was wearing.
Yeah, they're Jordan XX8s. I remember noticing these. I thought they were boxing shoes, and I did a little deep dive. I was like, wow, Dave really took a fancy to these Jordans that were like $3,000.
Jesus.
I was like, man, this guy's really fully invested in this comeback before he fucks off and does Guardians of the Galaxy, right? Yeah, multi-colors, the Bluetista we'll get to. Impressive colorway of Jordans he wore. But
yeah, they didn't look the best. They looked a bit ridiculous. Yeah.
He looked like an older divorced dad, like going through midlife crisis, going to the club. And,
oh yeah, there was that Raw, wasn't there, where he came out dressed like Pitbull with like the world's skinniest jeans on and a tiny leather jacket that was too small for him. Pretty sure he had no top on. Speaking of looking like a douchebag on a night out, he was having a rough time of it. Big day. I love Batista. He's another man who's got me blocked, unfortunately, probably because of this period, and it hurts me inside because I think he's such a cool man. Is a Big Day, but maybe not in this period.
The best Batista was when he left the first time, was when he was doing all those heel promos and everything. Yeah, before he went off to be a movie star. That was the best Batista. And he didn't do too badly in this Evolution, the Shield thing, but he never quite clicked for him coming back in this period. And then again, everyone's forgotten about him coming back against Triple H. Chris Elliott in the chat here is saying, didn't he rip those jeans off at one point? I don't remember that. But that would have been quite a feat.
Like me doing my Shawn Michaels pose on the Bret Hart plaque in Toronto, those shorts did not hold on. That's what Batista's jeans look like in that segment. But like R.I.P. and peace, those great shorts I had. But yeah, he's in a weird. I almost think like this segment we're about to talk about is like key to that, because it's almost like a consolation prize. Because he's came back thinking he's going to get the WrestleMania main event, and he's going to get this big homecoming and this big Royal Rumble, and it's going to be, the fans are going to love it, and he's going to dress a certain way, he's going to be this new presentation Batista. And he got so rejected so hard, it's almost not like it's not a happy reunion, I don't think, this Evolution run from the start. It's kind of just like, well, I suppose we've got to turn Dave heel. They don't even really formally turn him heel. It's just like, let's just kind of slot him there because the fans want Bryan so much, and we'll just put him back with Orton, and then Triple H will be around. Like this first segment, it's all three members, or the three main members, as we'll get into, of Evolution together. It's not even that big a deal. It's like just heels of convenience, aren't they, together with, Glenn in a suit next to them, Mayor Kane knocking around with them. It's almost kind of sad, isn't it? It should be a big moment the first time you see that, but it's almost like in every way they've been forced into it.
It looked like too, Batista was like struggling in the ring too. Like he like ring rust and stuff like that. He also had really bad hair too, man. It was like before he completely shaved his head, like Barton. But and it became Drax fully. But yeah, this was a rough period for Dave. And I forgot about that match at WrestleMania where he almost died, man. He was like completely lobstered by. He looked like a boiled lobster. Like he was gonna evaporate in the ring because he did not have the gas to go. Like
he looked like a man who regretted this shit, didn't he? He just regretted saying yes to any of it, and he was just done.
But yeah, he was holding on to his hair far too long, weren't he? I do agree on that. But on the Raw after that in Birmingham, Alabama, Brandon, have you ever been to Birmingham, Alabama?
No, but my brother, when he was stationed in Georgia, he did a trip to Birmingham, and and the rednecks, I guess he was messing with a wrong chick out there, and some rednecks tried to track him down and tried to shoot him, but he left it. Wow. He got out in time. So
sounds like our Birmingham.
Yeah, it does actually. Yeah. It looks like he had a lucky break then. I thought you were going to say he was in a Shawn Michaels situation where like all these Marines turned on him and like kicked fuck out of him or something. But
no, he was actually in the service, so he was not involved in that. But there's like civilians, like man, the rednecks.
Disgraceful. But anyway, so we are in Raw, Birmingham, Alabama, and Triple H is pissed, so he puts the Shield in a 3-on-11 match against Raw's finest. I mean, we've got some right jobbers in here. Jack Swagger, Ryback, Curtis Axel's in there as well, isn't he? Rusev's, yeah, even Rusev's in there. I mean, come on. I mean, that was just...
the AW wrestler.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, totally forgot about Swagger as well, yeah.
He's gone now, finally.
But you must have felt like a right piece of shit then, weren't you? Oh, tonight you're going to be in this. You're going to be a lot of faceless people as we do this angle with the Shield. I mean, yeah.
Vince loved this stuff, didn't he? It's such a staple of Vince booking, where it's just like, oh, we're going to put you against 20 men, and it's like, we all know that just makes them less of a threat. You'd be more impressed if it was 3 of them. You know what I mean? It'd be a more interesting match. As soon as you put like 10, 15 of them together, it just makes everyone come across like interchangeable jobbers, and that's what they are. But I was the same as you, looking at like the list of people here, like Titus O'Neil still getting a paycheck, and Heath Slater and the lads, just awful, absolutely awful.
Oh yeah, Drew looks like the younger brother of Drew nowadays as well, doesn't he? Yeah, he looks like
reverse Gunther
guy. Yeah,
like he used to get
I mean, Drew's hair color was legit. It wasn't like dipped in shoe polish now, but
you leave Drew alone. He's a fine Scottish man. We love Drew.
Yeah. He's not got a beard or anything, has he? But the match ends up in DQ. A big brawl breaks out. Triple H, Batista, and Orton come out with the Evolution music, officially reunited. But like Benno said a minute ago, there's like virtually no reaction. They come out and beat down the Shield. And yeah, and there's like no reaction to it. I mean, the Shield are really over at the time, and they seem to be the only thing that's getting like a big reaction in these segments. But yeah, Benno, like Evolution, are just not getting any like reaction from the crowd at all, are they?
And I was wondering if that was like a victim of the time. Like I say, the week before and in the lead, you know, they were already together, so maybe that takes away the impact of it. Because all that's really changed this week is Glenn's gone and we're going to play the music. But I think if this took place now, because we are maybe like 2014, we weren't quite there as like a society that loves nostalgia, or a wrestling fan base that loves nostalgia. I think now this would get a gigantic, just the music alone, it'd be like, oh my god, it's the Evolution song. Like if they just came out at like a Hall of Fame and did it or something like that, you know, people would go wild for it, wouldn't they? And would love it. Whereas here it's just like, oh, they've given the heels some new music and there's no real, you know, affinity for it or anything like that. It's weird to watch.
And plus, they'd not even been gone for that long, had they? Oh, no, actually, yeah. Yeah. No, actually, they expanded in 2005, so it's like almost 10 years that have been gone. So, but
same distance from present day to back then, from then to that. So that's like the middle point at a time. Love it. Love that game.
Weren't those WWE crowds different back then, too? Like, they're not as, like, spirited and raucous as they are now. Like, I mean, it seemed like it was kind of sanitized because, you know, people were bored to death with the bullshit and of the regular TV and shit like that. Like that's
true though.
Kind of my perspective on that. Look, crowded, and the other things, but not getting the Evolution, not getting the pop that they rightfully should have got.
But I suppose didn't all those fans just go to AEW anyway? This is this is like the early stages of fans just taking over shows and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so
waiting for some that's what I was remembering watching this. I was thinking, where was I in 2014? Well, on Twitter, but like on Twitter, what we were all doing, talking about something we hated. Like we were all just like, it's fucking crap, this, innit? But we all stuck at it for like the 15 years or whatever it was. I'd argue 20 years of WWE just being utter garbage and being the only mainstream game in town. And like, obviously, yeah, New Japan's peak would come around this time, maybe a little bit after this, and obviously AEW a few years after this, and even NXT, that was like a thing that they threw us a bone with, wasn't it? But like at this point, I think that's absolutely correct. Like people have just been beaten down with shite for too long and just weren't invested for that reason. It was a real takeaway for me. It made me realise how hot the crowds are today.
Yeah, totally. Cause it did feel like a good few years ago now that this sort of like, we'll take over a show. And I remember being at was it WrestleMania 33 in New Orleans and Brock against Roman. And oh my god, the second half of that match, literally my entire section was playing with a beach ball, chatting amongst themselves, all having a big laugh, doing Mexican waves, and I'm like, oh wow, this is just like absolutely ridiculous.
How did you get the beach ball?
Yeah, God knows.
Did you bring it all the way over from Sheffield? Or?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, yeah, it was a Rotherham United one. Yeah, yeah, just that whole period, and that had been a hot mania up until like the halfway point, and then I think we had that AJ against Nakamura match, and that's when the crowd sort of like turned on everything and shit and everything. But then on SmackDown, sort of like Triple H makes the match for Extreme Rules Evolution against Shield 6-man tag, and then TV proper goes into Evolution overload here. You have video packages galore, comms going on and on about their greatness, how many titles they've won, and things like that, and then we get the Raw. Evolution talking about how great they are. The Shield interrupt them, but Evolution beg off, and we get the 11 jobbers out again to form a shield around the Shield. And Ambrose. It's funny because watching around this time period, because it's Ambrose and Rollins doing the majority of the talking here, Brandon. Roman just kind of has like a couple of lines at the end because they didn't quite trust him to do a full-on promo now. Quite different to what we see with him these days.
Oh yeah, Roman wasn't near the person he is now. Like he was just like the straight up big man, heavy for Rollins and Ambrose. Yeah, it's bizarre. Like watching it now, like Rollins is a complete dweeb, and Moxley holds his own, and Roman's Roman now. Like it's a contrast. It's bizarre.
They're very careful how much mic time they give him, aren't they? It's like, here's your couple of lines, and then just look cool, look handsome, and look intimidating, and Moxley will take over, Ambrose will take over. That seems to be like the idea. It's a bit like, is this the one where Triple H is losing his voice as well, and Orton and Batista are having to like do, I don't know what was going on there, but like he must have been sick or something, because Orton and Batista have to do his talking for him, don't they? If I'm remembering right, if this is the right segment.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's like you said, it is a weird promo because it sounds like he's got a cold or something, and it's like you'd think you lay the mic off to your teammates rather than trying to do the promo yourself. But I suppose that's the WWE mentality in it. The show must go on, sort of thing. So yeah, and this is also before Roman started getting the boos and everything. We're like a year out of that as well, so the crowd's sort of like still heavily behind him, aren't they? And we have the last Raw before Extreme Rules. We have Roman Reigns against Randy Orton, and before the match, 6 of them face off, and the 4th member of Evolution comes out and one woo Ric Flair, and it's a weird segment this because it kind of didn't really go anywhere. He comes out and he talks about the usual Flair bullshit about like, oh yeah, when we in Evolution and we used to go out and get all the girls and stay in the Marriott and drink loads of drinks all night and stay up till 6 o'clock in the morning. And it's like, it was always phony whenever they talked about that with Triple H, wasn't it? Because we were like, we know this guy ain't going out till like 6 in the morning. He's back in his room studying like Harley race tapes or whatever, or bugging somebody at the bar about this and that and the other. So it was just a weird segment, I thought, Benno, because he wheeled Flair out and then he endorses the Shield at the end, and it kind of didn't really go anywhere.
It's so fucking weird, isn't it? Like, it's almost like, because that's the half I'd forgotten this happened. I wonder if when we did our retrospective on the Shield or Evolution. We've done both. Maybe this came up and Matty corrected me because I didn't remember Ric Flair even being around, because I was thinking it's so weird that they didn't bring him in, but they do, and it's for this. And I wonder if, in true Ric Flair fashion, he's been told, this is your one and done, we're actually not going to use you for any of the rest of the feud, and he's just fuming about it because it's so like half-arsed, isn't it, where he's like talking up, you're the most dominant stable in wrestling history and blah, 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 blah. But anyway, I'm not talking about you, Evolution. I'm talking about the Shield. But I think my delivery of that was better than Flair's, because he's not committed to it one bit, is he? Like, the commentary, I think it's JBL, isn't it? Has to be like, oh, is Ric Flair endorsing the Shield? I think Ric Flair's endorsing the Shield. And then that's it, and it just like fizzles to nothing for something that should be a big deal that Ric Flair's back with Evolution. Like, this is another thing. I think if this took place in 2024, because we're like nostalgia and we've learned from Marvel and other things like that. I think wrestling's better at stuff like this now. You'd have to have Flair there, wouldn't you? Obviously, present day allegations aside, I think you would do that. You'd want, if you're gonna put Evolution back together, you'd put Evolution back together. Whereas in 2014, it's quite clear they've decided Flair's just an extra body that'd be in the way because it's supposed to be 3 versus 3. And they just use this, promo time as an explanation for why he's not around. But it doesn't really serve either master for me. And it's just, like you said, Martin, weird is the word. It's just off the entire thing. And yeah, I think maybe I haven't read Flair say anything about it, but maybe, Flair's a big part of it because, he gets his feelings hurt very easily.
Or it could have been one of the times when he'd messed up, he'd racked up a 100-gram bar bill and embarrassed the WWE, and they'd gone, oh yeah, we can only have him back for this one shot, because so many of them things have happened during his illustrious career, haven't they? Sorry, Brandon.
It was disappointing though. Like, they should have went all the way and like had Flair in a suit jacket and a suit, and then he just takes off the suit. He's wearing Shield gear. Like I saw that.
I thought it was going to... Sorry, I love that visual, by the way. I thought it would go the other way. I thought it would be like, Flair's pretending to join in the Shield, and then it turns out, added onto your metaphor, Brandon, extra layer, he rips off the Shield gear to have like an Evolution t-shirt underneath, 3rd layer, and he turns again because it's Ric Flair, and this is what he does. That's what I would have done. But no.
I'll never forget seeing it. I went to an NXT show, and I saw a couple dressed up like the Authors of Pain. True Love. A couple dressed like the Authors of Pain. But continue, Mark.
I think we call them terrorists over here.
Yeah.
You call the police if you see that in an arena, mate.
Yeah. You would. So to end that segment, they have sort of Roman and Randy, and then they have all 6 brawling and the Shield getting the upper hand and standing tall, which I find is quite a theme in these segments they have on Raw and SmackDown to build up these matches, that the Shield get the upper hand quite often. But into Extreme Rules 2014 and May the 4th, Star Wars Day it is, and we're at the Izod Center in New Jersey. And Brandon, I wanted to ask you, what is an Izod?
Izod is clothing. It's like sporting apparel back in the day. I don't think it's around anymore. Izod. I remember going to JCPenney's and seeing Izod stuff. It was very garish looking, and the time. It was like golf shirts or stuff like that. No, Izod is still around. It's tailor made though. Like it looks more form fitting than what it did back in the day. But yeah, it's an apparel company.
It's golf clothing and activewear apparently.
Yeah,
or they might have rebranded themselves as that recently, because they don't still sponsor this arena, do they?
Like a typical company, they rebrand themselves after bankruptcy, right?
What is the arena now? Which one is it now?
I mean, it's still there. I don't think it's being used anymore. I call it the Izod Center. It's a dump, man. I remember going to see Strikeforce Heavyweight Grand Prix between Fedor and Bigfoot Silva, and Fedor losing, and I was surrounded by a bunch of Russians, and I felt like I was in the movie Eastern Promises. I thought I was gonna get kidnapped or something like that. So me and my brother were like, yeah, let's get the hell out of here. And then we went to the parking lot. We saw Henzo Gracie get into a fight with his cousin on my car. So good times at the Izod Center. It's very cavernous too. It's where the Devils used to play at. Like, we were sitting on the upper deck. I got free tickets from SureDog.com. Thank you. Shout out TJ DeSantis for hooking me up. and like we sat all the way at the top, and like it's like the bowl is just like look, it's weird. Like it's like you're like gonna fall down. That's how steep it was up there. But yeah, it was a good time. That building sucks. It's total shit show. There's no infrastructure in the area too, like where MetLife is at. It's just there's like a dump, and then there's the Izod Center, and then there's a parking garage or garage, whatever, and it's MetLife. And there's nothing else there. It's the metal.
Sounds like the UBS Arena where I went to see AEW last month. I felt like one of those places. There's nothing else going on there.
Long Island. Very red area of the country of New York. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, I've been there. I don't remember it being that cavernous. I went to see a New Jersey Nets game. I do remember that it was in the middle of nowhere, but I'm glad we've got Brandon's review of New Jersey venues, just dumps. This seems to be the main word that picked up on there. So, yeah, won't be working for MetLife anytime soon. Then I'm assuming, Brandon.
No. I mean, I went to that one Mania, and I was like, never again. It was complete torture watching Triple H in that match. Was it Triple H Brock Lesnar? I don't remember.
No, it was the main event was the
it was Rock Cena too,
wasn't it?
It was Rock Cena too, but it was I forget the Brock Lesnar matchup, but Brock was holding a Kimura for like I got a half an hour, and I was like, "Fuck this! I'm gonna go get some chicken fingers."
Why not? Can anyone guess though? We're coming out of WrestleMania 30, Daniel Bryan's big win, and what was the main event of Extreme Rules 2014? What was Bryan's big feud coming out of WrestleMania 30?
Oh, I do know that. Do you want to go, Brandon?
It's got to be Kane, right?
That's got to be Kane.
Yep. The main event of this fucking show was Daniel Bryan against Kane. Oh my god, unbelievable! Isn't that the fail-safe for everything? Like, you have a big match, you win the big match at Mania, and you're feuding with Kane.
Usually WrestleManias that are like a 10th, aren't they? Like WrestleMania 20, WrestleMania 30. Luckily it didn't happen at WrestleMania 40. Fucking hell, Cody could have feuded with Kane coming out of it. That would have been something.
Two dudes in power suits fighting.
Still be better than Solo, though, wouldn't it? The match would be better.
Oh, no doubt, man. Oh, that's gonna be something fierce watching that Solo Sikoa in a main event. I'm a big PLE. It's gonna be like House of Torture in that match. There's gonna be like so much interference going on in that match. No doubt, 100%.
Absolutely.
Bryan's big feud that all on Raw was against Stephanie McMahon and Kane. I was just like, oh my god, they were just amped to like sort of like ruin like this thing and go, yeah, look at him, he's shitter than what you think he is. But
that's what you get for getting over, kid. You know.
Wait. So before we get to the match, like, I watched the beginning of the show, and like, I mean, Jack Swagger. Coming up with he's wearing the Gadsden flag on his singlet. I'm like, oh my god, if you wouldn't get away with this now. That flag is such poison. And
what's the flag? Sorry,
Gadsden flag. It's the don't tread on the yellow flag.
Oh, that one. Oh,
yeah. I mean, you can't do that now. I mean, that's just a right wing bullshit. But it's like, wow, this guy's crazy, and that's just like it's Titantron. And then you get a Vladimir Putin shout out during the Rusev match from Cole. I was like, oh my god, was this before or after?
Really?
Yeah. I was like, was this before or after the Beslin bombings? I was like, oh my god, what are we doing here? I was like, come on, dude.
It's disgraceful.
He
always goes on about what a journalist he is. You'd think he'd know all this information before he's shouting out sort of like, Russian dictators.
I mean, to his defense, though, Vince was in his ear, and then plus there was like death by 1,000 camera cuts in these two shows too. I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna throw up. I feel like I was in a roller coaster with all the camera cuts.
So I'm assuming we all watched these at the time they were on, these two matches we're about to talk about.
Yes.
Right.
But vaguely remembered and then refreshed my memory. So
yeah, I do remember enjoying them at a time, and like we've already said, it was, a bad time for watching WWE, and we were all pissed off at it. But I do remember enjoying them at the time, so it was interesting going back and rewatching them. Obviously, we have got Michael Cole, Jerry Lawler, and JBL on commentary. And Evolution are out first, and Batista's in his red pants. Not quite. It doesn't get quite as much play as the blue gear as he wears in the next match. And just a quick run through the match, because Evolution spend, the first bit of the match cutting the ring in half, working over Rollins and Ambrose. This crowd fucking hates Batista. He gets booed every time he comes into the ring, and even gets a "you can't wrestle" chant, which I think is a bit harsh. And commentary even pick up on it because we normally sort of ignore that sort of stuff. And regular tag rules go out of the window once Roman gets the hot tag. And we get a big pile-on, Orton, Triple H, Rollins, and Ambrose sort of like brawl all over the crowd. We get some, big spots here with Ambrose diving into the crowd, Triple H taking a big back bump onto the concourse. Rollins does a fantastic looking dive off the balcony onto Triple H and sort of comes out of nowhere, and you don't see Seth for ages. And then great, I'd never usually praise WWE's production, but they did a great job here because you don't see him, and then he sort of like flies in, over the top. Yeah, it's a big surprise, a complete contrast to what we get in the next match. But great work from the production crew there. In the ring, Roman walks through 2 Batista bombs, and after having a fit in the corner for ages, hits the spear for the 1, 2, 3. And I did still really enjoy this. I felt like kind of flew by when I was watching it. I guess the whole story of the match and the whole story of this time period is make Roman Reigns look strong, make him look like super powerful. And boy, did they do it at the end there. I mean, I felt sorry for Batista. 2 Batista bombs, kick out, and then one of my finishes, and you're done, mate. I felt a bit sorry for Batista at the end of this match, Benno.
Yeah, it's almost like they're making a point, because I think the story at the time, wasn't it, that they wanted him to do, because Brian works Kane, as we said, but I think the original plan was Brian Batista as a singles, and Batista was like, I'm not putting him over again. I already put him over at WrestleMania. And I remember getting a bit of flack about that, so I wonder whether this was like, I'm just going to make clear I'm willing to put people over, and he proper puts Roman over, and obviously it's the pet subject as well, so maybe that's part of it as well. But yeah, good on him, that he's willing to do that, and he's willing to do business, even if Brian might have been a better idea. But yeah, as a match, I would say like it really is a match of 2 halves. Like first half of the match, I was thinking, fuck, I'm gonna have nothing to say on this podcast because this is quite boring, because it was a really long Evolution Heat segment. But I'd forgotten that is literally the first half of the match. It's almost like Triple H and Randy Orton get to call the first half, and probably Batista, and then the second half, it's like, all right, sure, lads, what do you want to do? And when it goes wild and it goes all over the place, and Moxley's coming up with really cool stuff, and like you say, the Rollins dive that's in there, the Roman picks his spots and has some good stuff. Once it breaks down and it gets a bit wacky, it's really good. It's really good. And that's the part I think most people remember. They don't remember that first half, and a Triple H should tell you, workers worker. It's the second half so good because we did that. We had the long Heat segment, but it is a bit of a slog until you get there, and I'm fantastic in the second half. And yeah, far better. We'll get to the second match obviously later. I think far better than the second one, but this one, yeah, I remembered it as being good, and in the end, it stood up as such as well.
And the crowd's really hot for it as well. That's what makes it stand out, especially from the second match. Yeah, they're really, really into it. And the Shield is so over in this match, Brandon.
Oh, yeah, man. The girls love Roman Reigns. Especially the screaming and shouting.
I love Roman Reigns.
Man, the first, like, the first, you were right, Benno. That first half hour of that match was a slog, man. Like a lot of rest holds, a lot big time heat spots, and then the second part of the match just absolutely cooked, man. Like those guys, like they put their work shoes on and just like brought it at the end. That second part of the match was super fun. Can we talk about Jerry Lawler real quick? Like his face being absolutely peeled back, like he was a Cenobite from the Hellraiser movies.
Yeah, he looks very like Michael Douglas after his 15th sort of like face nip and tuck, doesn't he?
I was gonna say like the match itself as well. It should have been a surprise either, because this was the Shield formula, and it's no coincidence once we move from the Triple H formula into the Shield formula, things work. Like the 6-mans they were doing during this period. Have you covered many of them on the show so far? Like they're their own thing. Like they're just so entertaining. They know like everyone knows their place. Rollins is the high spot guy, which is mad when you consider what he is now. Moxley brings that bit of violence, and you can tell. I've never seen anything like it where a stable is working so hard to like cover the weaknesses of the third guy and to get him over. They know he's a special project, but you can tell it's done with no bitterness either. They clearly love Roman, and they want Roman to look strong. They want Roman to look good, and he slots in brilliantly. I don't think any of his spots are probably his own idea. It's probably Seth and it's probably Mox coming up with the stuff. But like, I've never seen a 3-man stable like it with that type of chemistry. And these type of matches were a regular occurrence on Raws, on pay-per-views. It was like a really exciting time, at least in their segments, apart from the rest of the shows.
Yeah, because even the first half of the match, like you said, you thought it was a bit of a slog and stuff. But when they've done all the work to build up to Roman, and when he gets the hot tag, like the crowd explodes, and they do it so well. And even I was watching this back because obviously we all watch Seth Rollins, and he's obviously very divisive now, and you kind of like, oh my god, not a Seth Rollins segment on Raw. But as part of this team, he's like fantastic, and so is Moxley. And like you say, all the elements come together so perfectly for the team. And I know that's an obvious thing to say because they've gone down sort of like as a thing WWE did right, and especially Evolution here, sort of like and Triple H and everybody really doing the work to make sure they look strong and they got all their shit in and stuff like that. But yeah, just every part of that team works really, really, really well together.
Which is going to make the reunion, which is going to be the reunion, like even more like it's going to be
this year. Probably,
yeah, maybe.
Yeah, Moxley's as fed up as he seems. He is. Yeah, that's absolutely true, Martin, and it is. I think it's a. The thing about it is as well, it's organic. It doesn't feel like a forced WWE thing. It feels like they're the ones who are thinking that. They're the ones who are putting all this together. They believe in the Shield more than anybody else does. They were the ones fighting, weren't they, to be the Shield this long and to stay together up until what happens not long after this. Like, they wanted this because they knew there was more legs in it and they were better together. At this part in the career, and Seth is a big part of that. It's funny because at the time Seth was the workhorse of the group, wasn't he? Mox was the talker. He was the worker. He did all the high spots. And to be honest, a lot of people thought he'd get lost in the shuffle and he'd be like the lower card guy when they eventually split up. He'd be the one who suffered the most. And even if I don't love him, he's had a decent career out of it since as well. But yeah, he absolutely knew his role, at least at this point.
Yeah, because last time around we did the Shield debut, and then we did the Team Hell No and Undertaker match from that Raw in London, and obviously the TLC match against Ryback and Team Hell No. But researching that one, because coming out of NXT, everyone was like, "Oh, Moxley's going to be the man," and sort of like there was no much. You read all this stuff from back then, and like Meltzer and everybody, and it's all like, "Oh yeah, John Moxley, Dean Ambrose sort of thing. He's going to be the star coming out of this group." And I'm not. They all went on to certain levels of success, but like certainly seems like Roman's sort of like was forgotten about when they were first sort of like debuting. So it's interesting.
Chris Hero, mate.
Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah.
Wow.
Imagine the tribal chief Chris Hero. That would have been something.
The tribal chief Cassius Ohno. Be brilliant.
I wonder, he would have had Claudio, wouldn't he? Some other. Who else was he knocking around with on the Indies? He would have fetched all them up as his sort of like stable, wouldn't he?
Instead of the Bloodline, it'd just be a load of Shikara goons, like Ultramantis Black and stuff like that. Like Orange Cassidy might have landed in WWE. Who knows?
Put your Cassius Ohno ones up.
So the next night on Raw, even though sort of like the Shield, I'd say they fairly handily beat sort of like Evolution in that match. Triple H orders Ambrose to defend his US title in a 20-man battle royal, and Ambrose loses the title after holding it for so long. And Triple H is like, yeah, look at the power I've got. I can do this to you. And he's still the last man in the match. He gets eliminated by Sheamus, and it's funny to see this time period Sheamus. I didn't realize he was sort of like spinning his wheels in the mid card around this time period, but clearly he was because, he was in 20-man battle royals winning the US title. So, but I thought he was on a higher pedestal than that at this time period, but obviously not. But the Shield are then put into a match against the Wyatts on the same Raw, and Evolution come down towards the end of the match, and the Wyatts get the win. And after the match, Evolution batter the Shield, and Bluetista gives Ambrose the softest looking spine buster I've ever seen in my life onto the steps in this sort of like melee they have towards the end. But the story leading into this match is pretty similar to the last one. Triple H says the same things. He has these sort of like interview segments with Michael Cole, which seem to just exist to run down Michael Cole at every opportunity. You know, he's playing the heel authority figure, but he's taking every opportunity to just run Michael Cole down, going, "Oh, you're supposed to be the investigative journalist, but you know, you're asking me questions like this." And I'm like, okay, we're still in that period when Vince is in someone's ear slagging people off. And yeah, the story of the rematch isn't the best. You know, the Shield have already beaten them pretty handily. Triple H keeps going on about humbling them, but you know, Roman has a one-on-one with Batista, and it ends up with a brawl with Triple H sending all the jobbers back down again. But the Shield handily take them out, and it just seems like a lot of these segments, the Shield are getting the upper hand leading into this rematch. I thought, Benno.
Yeah, I think that the build to this one's a bit more middling, isn't it? It's not as interesting, I think, as the build to the first match. But absolutely, it's a lot of generic stuff, isn't it? We're gonna stack the odds, and yeah, Mox, you're gonna do a battle, you're gonna defend your title. Guess what? Not against one man, against a million in a battle royal, and we're gonna do that, and we're gonna do lots of beatdowns. And it does feel like that's a consistent theme through the feud, isn't it? If the Shield are gonna be winning the matches, well, Evolution need to win all the angles, and Triple H needs to look strong through them instead. So I'd probably say at this point, this is where, like you say, with this segment and with the ones that follow, it does start to get a bit repetitive, doesn't it? And we get a lot of that, a lot of heat for heat's sake, as just an excuse to get to that second match.
And what is it Triple H keeps saying, Brandon, over and over again?
Adapt or perish.
That's the one. They even have it on the back of the new. I totally forgot that Evolution had broken out some new merch for this, and I was like, "Wow, that's a T-shirt." Yeah, that
Batista doesn't wear this though.
Nobody. Oh, don't he? I had not noticed that. No,
I think he immediately takes it off, which ruins like the look of the three of them, like having matching T-shirts coming out. But yeah, what's the line? He says something like that, doesn't he, when they first join up? Like, "Do you believe in evolution?" He's throwing all these quotes out. I was like, they were definitely not catchphrases in the first Evolution run. You're just making stuff up. Like, it's not. Nobody said that, did they, in 2003? But fine, you got some T-shirts to sell.
We don't even get any of the segments though, Brandon, either, do we? Sort of like, yeah, they have a bit of a thing where they all come out of a limo wearing suits, and
True,
yeah, they have a bit of merch and that. We don't have any, you know, they're not.
Where's Mark Jindrak?
Well, exactly, yeah. This was the time to bring Flair back and have them, you know, going to the Marriott again and things like that. Well, we never get any of that, do we? We
don't get Triple H in the handlebar mustache either. Also
True.
very dismaying.
It's implied, isn't it? You see like helicopter shots and stuff like that. They put it into the video packages, but you're totally right. You don't actually see it, or even when you see them come out in suits, like Randy Orton's, like can't be asked putting a tie on. You know what I mean? They're just like, yeah, whatever. We're Evolution, I guess. Here's some T-shirts.
It's like a stripped down version of a nostalgia tour.
Totally.
Like lower budget at Costco version of Evolution. But
definitely
the fans still bought the merch at that time. But yeah, it was not the same. Definitely, it was.
It's a bit like in The Office when, like, you know, the very last season when Michael Scott's been gone for a couple of years and they get him back, and it's like, oh, it's so cool. Michael Scott's in the episode. He turns up. He looks like Santa. He's got like white hair and a beard. He couldn't even be asked dyeing his hair. He's just like, whatever. I'm on set for a day. I'll say a couple of lines with no emotion and I'll move on with my day. It's like a contractual commitment in it. It's like, come on, at least dye your hair. At least do the bit. You know what I mean? Look like you did like 3 years ago when you were in it. Give us that.
Like Marlon Brando in any film past 1960 sort of thing, yeah, just phoning it in for like a big paycheck, yeah.
As long as that clears, right?
Yeah, exactly. It just struck me. I was like, when are we going to get the segments of them in the hotel, like, you know, like with all the girls and stuff like that, and drinking at the bar and everything? But it just never came, sort of thing. They were kind of, I guess they kind of, because Triple H had all the authority thing going on, he kind of like was wanting it to be slightly different. But yeah, I think that's why they were getting sort of like the quiet crowd noise, because they weren't. I didn't feel like they did a good enough job rather of, you know, this is Evolution in the back. They kind of just threw a few T-shirts on and said they were Evolution and got the music back, and that was about it. I don't think they did enough work to hammer it home. But we're on to the second match, Payback, at the Rosemont Arena in Illinois, June 1st, 2014. And is this one of the arenas you've been to? What's Illinois? I kind of think this is an arena that you've probably been to as well, Benno.
I was trying to think whether I did. Was WrestleMania 22 there? I don't think it was. They've got like there's a couple of arenas. Like, what is Rosemont the one that's not actually Chicago? Like, it's a little bit out. Is that the one? I can't remember. I have to look it up now. I know Steph's been to pretty much most of the arenas. Yeah, so the Rosemont is the All-State Arena. Yeah, I've been to this one. This one actually is a bit more central, because this was where WrestleMania 22, I think it was. Was that? So yeah, I've actually been there. It was all right. I saw CM Punk on a pretending to be one of John Cena's goons in his old school gangster
Oh
outfit.
yeah,
It was cool. He winked at a few of my mates from the old ROH boards were in the front row chanting CM Punk. He gave them a little wink. Great moment. I think I found out like the day after. I didn't even know he was out there. But yeah, saw CM Punk at a WrestleMania. Technically, that counts.
indeed.
I've
never been on that too.
Never been to Chicago. Never been to Chicago.
I remember the beers
being
expensive
Chicago.
too.
No, it's one of the great cities I haven't been to yet. But I heard it's good times, man. The pizza looks like lasagna, but I digress. But that's deep dish pizza for you. But I've never been there before. Looks cool though, man.
Sorry, Benno, what were you saying? The biggest expensive in Chicago?
Oh, that's all I remember from like being there. It was the first experience. It was like a young British lad going, "How much for a beer?" And it was like $15 or something like that. Still not as bad as Long Island. It was 20 with a tip when I went to Forbidden Door this year. I don't know how they get away with it. More than 20 probably once you added the tip. Insane.
You were better off pre-gaming in the parking lot, get some booze from a liquor store.
Need to learn my lesson, yeah, absolutely. But Chicago's one of those places I only ever like traveled through. Like, I went to this WrestleMania, and that year I was mostly excited about the ROH shows that were on the other end of it. Like, speaking of Brian Danielson, Lance Storm was on that. Homicide, Colt Cabana was on those shows. The Dragon Gate 6-man. So WrestleMania was kind of like just like an extra little bonus thing I got on the Sunday that year. I almost wish I'd taken it a bit more seriously and got it taken a bit more. But back then people weren't really doing it. It wasn't really a thing where people did like the big, going out there for big WrestleMania weekends. It was very early on. So yeah, I feel like I owe another proper Chicago trip. Maybe if there's another big Mania weekend there or something like that, or one of the many AEW weekends there, maybe I'll get there at some point.
Oh yeah, plenty of wrestling will go on in Chicago. The city
Tony
never
Khan
sleeps
as
for
well.
pro wrestling.
Yeah. AW will run there every week. Tony Khan that his way. Yeah, I've only been to Chicago Airport, flying on somewhere else, and I went out for I had a 6-hour layover. It's when my brother lived in Vancouver, and I was visiting him, and the layover was in Chicago. So I thought, I'll nip out for a cigarette, and I was like, oh my god, they were like icicles, like that big, like it was ridiculous. I felt the cold air go straight on my nose. Yeah. You what? Sorry.
They wouldn't even let you out now in these arenas. That's the big thing in American arenas now, isn't it? If you want to go to a smoking area, they just don't let you out. And a lot of them, unless it's like Vegas or somewhere like that, it's ridiculous. But
don't they? Oh, right.
Yeah. It's a big. Steph gets fuming about it whenever she goes. She always checks first. And like literally, it's like you can't. Sometimes if you make friends with like a member of security, they'll let you like sneak out for a second like that. But a lot of them don't have them. These modern ones.
They wouldn't let us out either. Scotiabank trapped with Sonata.
There you go. Oh, wow. That's a story I want to hear. Is your brother still in Vancouver, Martin? Are you considering Survivor Series?
No, he only lived there for a year after he finished uni in 2003. He can go and sort of have a year out and things like that. But yeah, I think he enjoyed it. Yeah, it's I always preferred that. Yeah, it's good. Toronto's the better. I prefer Toronto to Vancouver, but yeah, it's still got it. Like you've got Whistler, the ski resort up there and stuff, and the big University of British Columbia. That's a lot of sort of clubs and things in there. Yeah, it's a good time. Yeah, I'd love to go to. Is it Survivor Series are in there this year?
Survivor Series War Games. Yeah. When Chris Hero and the Chicago lads take on the Bloodline, can't wait.
Yeah, no, they are the Bloodline. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Right. So anyway, this is the infamous entrance, Payback, the entrance of Evolution with Big Dave in all blue, and the Bluetista thing was trending #1 worldwide as Michael Calder's. And Dave tweeted at the time, 6 guys put their health on the line in a violent match. 3 guys use their success to make 3 newer guys bigger stars. The finale of a great program. Smart marks focus on me wearing blue and start the Bluetista chant, which is all people remember. Yeah, hysterical. And then a few years later, in 2019, I also discovered an interview with Lillian Garcia. He was still hurting about this. He said his 2014 run was horrible and that he didn't try to take it personally, but he really did, because it's hard to tell people that you want to be there for the right reasons, but they just don't want to hear it. So Brandon, Big Dave was still smarting like 4 or 5 years later about this Bluetista thing. He never quite got over it.
He never beat the allegations, man. What went through his mind to absolutely wear these colors? Like, I thought Evolution was a faction of style and grace.
No, it's a mystery, man.
This guy decided to dress up like like he was a freaking Power Ranger or whatever. He was in great shape, too. I give him props for that, but man, all blue and the shoes, ridiculous.
It's good, isn't it, that he can't take the joke? Like, I equal parts feel bad for him and kind of cringe at it, because it's like, yeah, he clearly did come back with like the idea of, I don't have to do this, I'm a big star now, but wouldn't it be cool to do one last run? I'll do some house shows, the fans will be happy to see me again, I'll try some new shit like the Bluetista thing. And to just be rejected so wholeheartedly. And it wasn't even his fault, was it? A lot of it was just bad timing. Because WWE are trying to force him down your throat as the babyface. Well, at a time when everybody wanted Bryan. Kind of similar to, Rock trying to come back and take Cody's spot. It's very kind of similar there 10 years earlier. But yeah, I feel bad for him in some of those ways. And that's not really your fault, Dave. And then it's like, I mean, it is funny though, Dave. You do look ridiculous. Like, do you not get it? He's like, well, I only wore blue. It's like, yeah, but like, you never wore those colours, and it's like a baby blue, and it's your entire body, because you've got like the sleeves, you've got like the kick pads with your knee pads and your trunks. It's just a lot, isn't it? Like, how can he not see the funny side of it? Especially when Triple H is in all black, Randy's in all black. Like, there's a team uniform here, and he's just gone random. I can't believe no one backstage said something to him on the way out. It's just, come on, Dave, you must see the funny side by now.
I think that's the thing, though, isn't it? I think even if they had said something to him backstage, he would have been like, "Oh, well, I was a few years back. I'm the big movie star sort of thing. So I'll just go out there and wear what I want and sort of do what I want." Like you said, he wasn't keen on wearing the merch, the t-shirts he'd put out, and yeah, it's just, like you said, like it's a baby blue, and then it also looks like a weird like material, like a terry toweling like nappy or something that they'd have back in the 30s or something. Yeah, it's just and the arm things as well are just like, why is he wearing them? Yeah, it's completely bizarre.
It's a lot. Of course, that's what people do. And I remember that. I don't know if you remember that night on Twitter. It was genuinely trending, and it was what everyone was talking about. What the fuck is Batista wearing? And you can almost feel it in the crowd. We talked about the crowds not being as boisterous as you might have imagined during this time. They're really quiet. I think for the first half of this match, it feels a bit like, remember when MJF first came up with the tattoo? And like no one's paying attention to the match because was it Cody was working that night? I can't remember. But like you could feel the crowd being quiet because everyone's on the phones on Twitter getting the jokes off, going the fucking state of that fucking Cody Rhodes tattoo, the American flag tattoo. What the fuck is he doing? Same thing here. You can kind of feel people just talking amongst themselves and laughing at it rather than engaging in the match because it's just that distracting.
Well, and like we just noted there, the crowd was nowhere near as hot for this as they were for the first match. And I kind of feel for them because, it was nowhere near as good as first match, kind of plodding. They start off with a walk and brawl before taking it into the ring. The exchange the advantage back and forth. The crowd's dead. Even do the big Roman Triple H face-off that WWE do to virtually no reaction. I bet Triple H was gutted when they got that because he was like, "Oh, it's Roman and Triple H facing off against each other." They even do the walk around the ring and like silence. Yeah,
it's
Seth
weird.
Even does. Sorry, Benno. Seth even does the Eddie suplex spot to try and wake this crowd up. That's how desperate they get for like a reaction, isn't it?
It tries so hard, but I was gonna say it's a weird point in Triple H's career, isn't it? Because we haven't really mentioned it, but like just seeing him in the ring in trunks. With the his hair shaved off, and he's very much corporate man Triple H, isn't he? Like he's talked up as the boss in all the promo segments and stuff like that.
That haircut looks so terrible, man.
Yeah, it doesn't work with his boots and trunks, does it? It's just like, I reckon he watches this stuff back now and cringes and goes, "Yeah, I was done here. I shouldn't have been in the ring. I shouldn't have been wrestling anymore." And it's good now, and it's horrible the reason we got to it, obviously with his heart attack and everything like that. But it's a good thing that like there's no temptation now to remember that every year WrestleMania. Oh, we need the Triple H match, we need an Undertaker match. We don't do that anymore, do we? And we're all the better for it because he just looks odd and out of place a lot of the time.
They all start brawling again, and Evolution isolate Roman from Ambrose and Rollins, and they triple powerbomb him through a table, and they take Ambrose and Rollins and dispose of them on the entranceway, and then Roman gets stripped off and takes a cane in and some chair shots, and then they drag Roman up to the entranceway. And after praising the production in the last match, they really fuck up here. You can see Ambrose hiding, waiting to do a sneak attack on him as they come up to the entranceway. And you can even see the cameraman's kind of like, oh no, I can see Ambrose down there. So he kind of shifts the camera, but it's like, yeah, we've already seen him, mate. They linger on Rollins, before he does another big dive off the Titantron, and you can see him up there for like a while. So yeah, the production really, as good as they were in the other match, they really fucked up on this one. And then they all led to the ring, and the eliminations start happening. Roman spears Bluetista for a Rollins pin. Then Ambrose hits the Dirty Deeds, which I think this is around the first time they start calling it the Dirty Deeds as his finisher on Orton. He gets the pin on Orton, and then just Triple H, of course, against the whole Shield. He tries to make a bit of a comeback. Orton even slides in the dreaded sledgehammer, but he eats a spear, and Roman pins him. So pretty decisive there, victory. They obviously, we've said before, they were trying to, this was all about making Roman look strong. But yeah, I mean, obviously, despite the production messing up, the fact that you could see Rollins up there and it was less of a surprise, it's still a spectacular dive and everything, but nowhere near as good as the first match, I don't think, here, Brandon.
Nah, man, it was that first match cooked. This was it's just like no energy. Like I mean, these guys tried their best, but I mean, it was a no-win situation with the crowd and stuff like that. It was a total disaster.
Yeah, you can feel it. It's just, I think the elimination stip doesn't help it either. Because when the first elimination happened, I was like,
so lame.
Oh man, we've got 5 more of these. Really? It was just like it really hit me, and I was like, God, this match isn't interesting enough to do this stipulation, and it's clearly an attempt to capitalize on the mayhem of the second half of the match. Like you said, down to the Seth Rollins spot, which is just like for like copy. Michael Cole, which I hated during this period, acts like he's never seen anything like that before. It's like, mate, you saw that last month. It was better last month too. What are you on about? Like, why are you pretending? Like, I hate it, and it's just it's a really plodding, not very interested match. I think Batista doesn't feel very interested in this one. Like, he just towards the end, you can just kind of tell he's already got like, yeah, I'm gonna be on the beach tomorrow. I've got a few weeks between shooting the next fucking movie I'm doing or something like that. Because like, even when did you notice when they do the spot where they take out the other Shield members and then Roman's left in the ring and Triple H is like, look, Roman's on his own, and Evolution circle him, like Triple H is on one side of the ring, Orton's on the other side, and Batista's just got in the ring. He just like, he's forgotten that his spot was supposed to be like, we're supposed to be surrounding him here, Dave, and he just kind of goes on one knee and just waits for the next spot, does the spine buster, and then he's clearly done. He's clearly ready to go back to Hollywood, and yeah, he can tell this isn't great, and yeah, it's a real. I understand why they did it. It makes sense, the first one went surprisingly well, and you can make some money off a rematch, especially in this period when it was monthly pay-per-views. But yeah, nowhere near as much juice. Definitely it's a sequel, isn't it? It's the Speed 2 of wrestling matches.
Yeah. It should have been, yeah, I see what you're saying about the pay-per-view and everything and making money off it, but yeah, it should have been a one and done, I feel. I think they got the point across that, the Shield were sort of coming in there. And I don't even think Brian, was he injured? I don't think, because this is the main event of the show, isn't it? I don't think he was even on the show for this one.
He's injured.
Daniel Bryan, he was involved in the show. His wife slapped the shit out of Stephanie in the ring after she quit.
Oh. But yet he's already vacated the title at this point, hasn't he?
Yeah.
The points to the Triple H sit-down interview. That's already happened there. So yeah, it's a bit of a drab pay-per-view. That might be why they did the match a second time. It was like, well, we need a pay-per-view main event. Dave Jaman hanging around for a few more weeks. Maybe that's what happened.
But Brandon, do you think it got across the point that it got, the whole thing about it was to make Roman look strong and to get the Shield over?
I mean, yeah, I think they did. I mean, he got the pinfall. I mean, but I mean, they're fighting themselves against the crowd. It was a different era. I mean, they're if it didn't work that time, they were going to force that agenda on another way, and they did. They force fed Roman down our throats for like the next 6 years before they finally got it right, but after the pandemic or whatever. So if it didn't work that time, they were going to find a way to make it work.
What is interesting about this 2-month period, though, is I know earlier in the year they had been teasing a bit of dissension between the Shield, and obviously them being pissed off that Ambrose has got the US title and him going off on his own and doing his own thing, and they had sort of teased a bit of dissension. But during this whole period, it's just them united against Evolution. So the next night on Raw, they do the big turn with them breaking up, Seth Rollins leaving, obviously Big Dave leaves, and so it just sort of reminding myself that that's what happened on Raw after Payback. It just sort of comes a bit out of nowhere, because I know they'd been doing the dissension storyline earlier in the year, but they've not been doing it at all for these few months for Extreme Rules and Payback.
Yeah, I think that's probably the real life coming to fruition, in that I think when they were initially teasing it, they were ready to split them up. And I think the Shield lads put the foot down, no, there's more to be done here, there's more to do. And I think they just dragged it as much as they could. I think the Evolution feud was a good, we need to do the Evolution feud, let's get that out the way first, and then we'll do the turn. And then the turn comes, as you say, it does come out of nowhere, it does feel unearned, it does feel, I suppose it's a way of Triple H getting his win back, isn't it? And that he can be like, I paid off Seth Rollins, so therefore I win, lol, which is the Triple H way, isn't it? And how we get to that. And it's a good thing for Seth Rollins that it happens, but it's not the turn people expected. You're right, people expected, because they've been teasing Moxley as being the one who's going to be the one who's caused dissension or something interesting like that, and they went a completely left field way when they probably could have gone another 6 months with the Shield. There was still juice in it. There's still more things they could have done.
Was that
because that was that whole period? Sorry, Brandon.
Was that I didn't sell out? I bought in bullshit.
Stole that from Alex Shelley.
Yeah.
Good line though.
Yeah, it's because they'd been on a right streak that year, hadn't they? We had all the sort of Wyatt stuff and everything, and then this Evolution thing, and like said, Benno, I think they could have kept it going for a bit longer, but we didn't. And then Chris Elliott's just reminded me in the chat there, Dave obviously left WWE and Evolution, and that little wave he did at the end was the parting kiss and everything. But then there was real life beef after that, weren't there? Because that was when he going to come back and do promo for Guardians of the Galaxy, and they were like, well, we know it's a Marvel property, but it might not be that big, so we're not that interested. And it's like, fucking my god,
what a mistake that was. Holy shit.
Dumb as fuck.
I guess I mean, you know what, I'm not going to defend them, but I don't know if people thought that movie was going to be as big as what it became, but I mean, even still, what a fucking bunch of morons. Come on. You gotta
yeah.
Come on, man. This guy towed the line for you guys for many years. Come on, throw that guy a bone, man. Promote it. Come on. But they didn't. They fucked up.
And he was even doing them a favor. He was talking about sort of him and the rest of the cast coming on and stuff like that. And it's like, well, if you don't want that, then, fuck you. But anyway, I suppose in conclusion, Evolution, seemingly reformed to put the Shield over as noted. They broke up the night after Payback on Raw, and I've seen talk that the Extreme Rules match was the last great Shield match. I was trying to think of once they got back together, and even the three-way they had wasn't that great. And yeah, I'd say I would agree. This is they had some decent matches when they sort of reunited, but this was the Extreme Rules match was the last great match, I think, Benno.
Yeah, there's the Wyatt one, isn't there? Is that on Raw after Extreme Rules? Or is it right before? It's somewhere around this period. It's on one of the playlists. So I suppose there's that, but that's good rather than great. So yeah, I think that's probably true, to be honest. But yeah, it's a hell of a catalogue they put together during the time as well. And obviously, like I say, it's off to the races with all three of them pretty much as singles acts coming out of it. So it's an unbelievable run as a stable that I can't think of many others having.
What about you, Brandon? In conclusion, thoughts about this whole sort of Evolution feud that they had?
It's a tale of two halves, man. First match was the beginning was a slog, and the end was great, and then the sequel sucked. I mean, it was the novelty. It was a good try of nostalgia to blend in a hot trio faction, and I guess the juice wasn't really worth the squeeze of this nostalgia run for Evolution. I don't think so, but it was a good effort though.
And then they did finally get Roman sort of like over about 5 or 6 years after this, didn't they? You know, they tried, and then eventually, yeah.
He finally beat the allegations for suffering succotash.
Oh yeah, I'd totally forgotten about that.
Unreal.
There's even stuff they get him doing in these matches though, when he's in the corner when he's about to do the it's either the Superman punch or the spear on Batista, and he's looking like he's having like an epileptic fit or something like that. You know, they're trying to get him to do like it's kind of like the Hogan sort of like shake the head power up sort of thing, and he looks completely unnatural doing it, and it's a shame that they like were forcing him to do sort of like these things, but
he's in the beginning stages of just being really, really overproduced, isn't he? And it wouldn't get any better. It's funny because this is the year, isn't it? That Rumble that you were at, Brandon. Like when he comes out, he gets cheered because it's like Brian's not going to win. We don't want Batista to win. We want Roman. Like, so Roman's like, he was the great hope. People forget that. Like, people were behind it. People hadn't cottoned on to the fact yet that he was a very forced Vince McMahon pick, and people wanted him that Rumble. Year later, Rumble 2015. Like, he gets booed out the building, doesn't he? And that's the Rock one, isn't it? Where he looks at him
with the endorsement.
Yeah. Good Lord. I'm sure they pay off that off at some point as well. But they would have been better keeping it the more natural way. He would have been better with 6 more season in the Shield and knocking around with Mox and Seth, rather than doing what they do.
The TKO endorsement didn't go over well in that crowd.
No.
From The Rock.
Yeah, because after this, Ambrose is sort of feuding with Rollins, isn't he? And that's... I can't really remember a great deal about that, other than the Money in the Bank ladder match they had 2014. There's not a great deal.
Don't they, then?
Yeah.
The hot dog car angle gets pulled out and all stuff like. They find any reason to put them back together. They probably wear that one out.
Yeah, big time. So anyway, that's that covered. I figured, Brandon, I don't know, we'll have to talk to Dickie, but I figured to keep this timeline going, we can talk about the Shield breaking up and stuff next month, and then maybe go back in time and chat the Wyatts. But I suppose that's stuff we can all chat about before next month. But Benno, thank you so much.
3 singles matches, course, maybe one with each. You could work that. Could work.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, we've got to wait for Waiting to come on with us for the Total Divas run. But enough about that. But yeah, Benno, thank you so much for coming on and joining us for the show. It's been great chatting to you again, mate. 'Cause obviously, sadly, we couldn't get you on the charity stream, so it's been great. Going down memory lane and doing a bit of podcasting again, and of course, tons of stuff going on over at GRAPPL this month. It seems to be one of your sort of like busiest months you've ever had.
So Wrestlemania is August, but no, firstly, I was sad to miss the charity stream. An amazing effort by you once again, Martin. You are the Iron Man of wrestling podcasting, so very much enjoyed watching a lot of that on my flight home from Toronto. I was around Davey a lot during that week too. He was telling me how his laptop felt like it was going to melt from trying to edit that mammoth thing down into a smaller episode. So it was a team effort, that one. So well done, lads. Always a pleasure to be on the Poison Rana feed. And always a pleasure to fill in. You can't do this podcast without a ginger man called Richard, so I felt like I needed to step in. A ginger man called Richard wearing some very very quality high quality merchandise as well, so had to be done. So yeah, made up to be here. And if you want to hear more where I come from, obviously GRAPPL is our podcast now, not an app anymore, but GRAPPL Spotlight. You can get us on YouTube. We are trying to build our YouTube viewership up. It's a bit saying at the top, Martin, the old school. Me and you were from the old school podcast here, and I think our listeners are too. So we're still very much an audio podcast, and we're trying to move into that video world. But I think most of our audience are stuck in their ways. So we could do with a few more YouTube followers. Give us a subscribe if you want. That's probably my main plug. And you get all our stuff. Spotlight. We put Weekend Show with the SummerSlam preview out this week already on the YouTube, and you can even get our bonus shows if you sign up as a YouTube member as well. So yeah, that's youtube.com/@GRAPPL. That's us.
and the live show, obviously, AEW weekend all in. Are you going to be coming over for that one, Brandon? You bought a ticket for the GRAPPL live show to support the lads?
I wouldn't believe him if he said he did. He never turns up. It's not happening. He lies to me. Gets my hopes up, and then he's not there. It's just because I love you, Brandon. It's I want to see you, mate. That's all. You know, we did meet once though, didn't we? We met at the post show. It was actually in New Jersey, so you did have to travel far. But first thing he said to me, Martin, he was like, "Are you and Braden twin brothers?" And I was like, "I'll take that as a compliment. I'll Braden's my style icon. I think that's okay."
He's a real tall dude, man. But yeah, it was fun meeting up with you. And if it would have been cool if I could show up for the London show, but no, I'm not gonna be there. But I wish you guys luck. It's gonna be a good time and loads of fun for you guys. Good stuff as well with the Patreon and stuff like that. Love it.
What I've been loving, Benno, is you baiting people on YouTube with these graphics where it's like a picture of Tony Khan looking insane with an arrow to his head saying lies in big
flames around him. I've learned from the best. It worked. Way was great at that as well. We've tried to tone it down a little bit, but that's what gets clicks. So yeah, we're chasing the YouTube algorithms at any given time. So yeah, it's funny. Triple H doesn't give you those fun facial expressions. Unfortunately, we needed a few more of them for our stuff. That Wembley tickets, they're usually the ones that sell for us.
I love it. They're always my favorite GRAPPL YouTube clips when they come up. I was like, oh, what graphic has Benno done to strike an iron into the fire of YouTube this one? But yeah, fantastic work, mate. Brilliant stuff. Yeah, we're looking forward to the live show. Obviously, if there's anybody heading to it, yeah, definitely get a ticket for that. It's a good time. Last year was a good time. This year is going to be even better. So yeah, definitely get a ticket for that. But of course, we are on the Poison Rana Network, Brandon. Tons of stuff this month from Braden and Davey. Obviously, it's SummerSlam weekend. They are going to be there live in person, but I think they are still doing a screening at one of their usual hunts. So if you're in Toronto, look into that. And, you know, tons of stuff on the network this month. I know they've just released a review of the Andy Samberg film Hot Rod. Is that one you've ever seen, Brandon?
I've never seen that, but I heard a little bit of the show so far, and it's pretty funny. It's pretty good so far. So go listen to that. It's real good stuff.
I always try and watch the films before I listen to the reviews, and I've normally seen most of them, but I'd never seen Krull. I was forced to watch Krull thanks to you picking that as your show with them. What a piece of shit that was. So hopefully Hot Rod's a bit better than that. And obviously, since it's SummerSlam month, they've gone back to review SummerSlam 94 featuring Bret vs. Owen in a cage. I've not watched that one back since watching it at the time, but good memories of that. And obviously completely forgotten about the two Undertakers. And yeah, of course, also good friends Cino and B Detroit just dropped another fantastic episode of What Up Doe as they're talking the latest Eminem album, Deadpool, Wolverine, and a whole lot more. Always a breeze to listen to that show. Great work from those lads. And of course, Chop Tees, tons of great Eagles Don't Hunt Flies merch, some new MC later stuff, NWA, all the post-wrestling stuff. I know they've just had a cool line of Canadian stuff that looks pretty sweet. So, yeah, I could see you rocking a post-wrestling Maple Leaf hat, Brandon. Have you actually bought anything off Chop Tees yet?
I did. I bought the Van Gogh or Van Gogh. I got that. I'm getting the post Maple Leafs hoodie. I love that. And yeah, I support. I show love.
Some great stuff on there. Hopefully some even better stuff coming soon. Who knows? Maybe.
Yep.
Maybe.
Nice tease. But anyway, sort of, yeah, obviously everything goes back to Poison Rana, poisonrana.ca and at Poison Rana on Twitter. Brandon, have you got any plugs? Have you got anything that you want people to watch? I'm sure you've been doing some great commentary on the Olympics on Twitter, haven't you, this month, and all the sports that you're into. Staying
far away from that app. Now I'm just working one more week, and then I'm going on vacation to Puerto Rico to visit some family and the home of Pedro Morales. The whole family's got an Airbnb, and we're all going to be hanging out for a week. So can't wait for that.
Is that promotion still running in Puerto Rico? What's the big...
Oh, yeah, IW... Was it IWA, was it? I think it was, yeah. I just picture Brandon's family just being a load of Brandons. Just like even the women, they just look at Brandon, same beard, same hat. Just 15 of them in one house. Young and old.
Oh man, well, we're all different. We're all our different persons, but I'm one of one, definitely.
Of course you are, absolutely.
I also
You can
feel
have what
like
you
you've
want.
probably got a massive family as well, Brandon. So we'll after up as Benno's trying to get YouTube views, so get them all to tune into this to see your superstar performance. So, but
Well, this is to
anyway,
be Braden and Davey. I was very lucky to be on the behind the BDE show from I think it was last month. Patreon they had up there in Poison Rana. Being in the BDE was just amazing. Just walking in and just being like, oh my god, this is the set I watch like every Sunday night. This is Braden and Davey. It's amazing, but it's one of the best places one of the best apartments I've ever seen. That view, unreal. Great, had a great little barbecue going as well. It was unreal. What a place.
Yeah, they got a lot of
BDE
liquor
is
in that fridge.
yeah, sadly I went to the old place, which was like underneath someone's house, which is still pretty cool. But the new place they've got overlooks the fucking what is it? They overlooks the Sky Dome and everything. That looks fantastic. So yeah, got the balcony and everything. Yeah, brilliant.
And I got
stuff.
to record the podcast while Chef Davey and Braden were making chicken wings and all kinds. What an experience that was! All time, I'd recommend it to anyone.
Definitely. Definitely check that episode. Tons of fun. If you want to Benno trying some ridiculous hot sauce live on that's the one for you. So but yeah, thanks to everybody for joining us, and we will be back next month, and we'll catch you then, Ambrose.
Ta-da.
Poison